Good morning, welcome back to Dustinbed, and welcome to a new series on the channel called Tapes from the Crypt. In this series, we're going to be looking at cassette tapes that are either weird, interesting, bad, or a combination of the three. I just have a lot of cassette tapes, and a lot of them that I like to get are weird. I just find cassette tapes interesting. In my eyes, I see cassette tapes as one of the first formats of the people, in quotes, because pretty much anybody could record to a cassette tape and release it. So I just find that interesting because it's like, how many kind of oddities can you find within the realm of cassette tapes? So in each episode of this series, I will be looking at three different cassette tapes that are just randomly kind of pulled. Uh, I will have to listen to at least one side of the cassette tape. I don't have to listen to the whole thing if I don't want to, just because if it's into the bad territory, I don't want to subject myself to that. So, yeah, so I think let's just start with the first one and we'll go from there, huh? This is the cassette tape that I sort of had in mind when I was starting this series, just because the title when I was at the thrift store kind of interested me. Jazz funeral. It's the biggest part on the spine, and I saw that. I'm like, that sounds rad. A jazz funeral, and I didn't really know much about the New Orleans sort of jazz funeral tradition going into it. I just thought that the title was awesome. But anyway, let's go through the tape a little bit. So I showed the back. Here is, or the spine rather. Here's the back. Here, oh, it's an O or a U card rather. So I gotta slip the tape out, and there's that. Um, does there? No, it's just the U card itself. Is that what they call these? Is that what people call these? Is a U card? That's what I call them because it's not a J card. But yeah, so here's side A, there's side B. And what is this tape, you may be thinking? I was not sure what to expect going into it. I just really liked the title, but it was a pretty cool tape. I only listened to the first side because the music isn't really my favorite genre, but yeah, it starts off with an introduction. I can't talk. That's the beauty of these one take videos is that I just goof up hardcore and it just stays in. Anyway, the introduction is it's a guy talking about the sort of the tradition of the New Orleans jazz funeral, and sort of let's let's see, just by the, yeah, so you got your wake service at the beginning, and he's talking about, like, sort of the wake and like how it starts off kind of upbeat and stuff, and we get the, like I said, we get the introduction, and then we get some of the music, and it's that kind of, the when the saints come marching in, if you're familiar with that song, it's a lot like that. It's that upbeat sort of New Orleans jazz sound that I wasn't familiar with until I kind of made that connection. But anyway, so after that, we get into the funeral procession or dirge, and then the narrator comes back in and he talks about how the band who is, kind of going around the town playing this music, they slow things down a little bit, and it starts going into more of the dirge, and they'll go around, and he talks about visiting the places that the deceased liked and like kind of playing the music there. And I don't know, I just found that kind of interesting. And I mean, tapes like this, I mean, who's gonna seek this kind of thing out? I feel like not very many people, but it's just the idea of like somebody went through the process of making this, and it's kind of cool. You learn something new, and yeah. So that is authentic New Orleans jazz funeral. Up next is a blank tape. Ah, I love these. I love finding blank tapes that they don't have anything on them. There's nothing to tell you what is on this thing, but and here, let me just go through this a little bit. So yeah, it looks like, I mean, they didn't even write in it. Oh wait, no, they did. Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't see that before I listened to it. Oh my gosh, I could have. It's hard to read, but yeah. So that kind of spoils it. But but yeah, the person that owned this, they taped some kind of recording of uh, the War of the Worlds. It's George. What is it? Is it? You know, the director of why am I blanking so hard? Orson Welles. Duh. Oh my gosh. Orson Welles did the narration for War of the Worlds on the radio back in, like, what was it? I want to say 30s, 40s. I want to say 30s or 40s. He was a young guy when it happened, and I know there was a lot of controversy on, like, people were tuning in and they thought it was real, and it caused a lot of outrage and whatnot. But yeah, so I turned it on and it started playing the broadcast, and I got really excited because I had never heard it before. And as it was going on, it's like, oh, cool, I'm kind of getting invested, and it's playing like these like fake radio spots, basically sort of building the world and what's going on. And all of a sudden, the tape just stops, and that's it. There's just, when a tape is blank and it just sounds like noise, and I kept, I would fast forward and I'd stop and I'd listen, nothing, just noise. Fast forward, stop, listen. Fast forward, stop, listen. No matter what I did, they only recorded just probably like 2, 3, 4 minutes, like not really a whole lot. And side B is no different. It's completely blank. So this one was a bit of a disappointment, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I was so excited for War of the Worlds because I hadn't heard it before. I mean, that's actually a movie that I've been wanting to see too. Criterion Collection put it out recently. But yeah, so I mean, bit of a disappointment, but like kind of cool too, I guess, because it's like, I mean, I didn't know that it had anything written in there. I didn't really, I wasn't checking it out too hard, but I thought it was blank, and then it had that on it, and I was like, oh, that's neat. So, yeah, I guess we're on to the next tape, right? This one's not as weird, I would say, but it's my favorite that I listen to. Look at that. It's a best of it's a, wow, can't talk again. Best of 60s psychedelic rock. And you can see the track list here. It's a lot of cool stuff. I would say it's a bit of a mix of like psychedelic rock and like garage rock, because you got people like Count 5 on here, and Strawberry Alarm Clock is a bit sort of garagey. That Bubble Puppy was a little bit garagey, and then you got some of your sort of psychedelic stuff going on there. But yeah, this is a nice little. It's like a mixtape basically of a bunch of really nice sort of 60s psychedelic stuff, and like I believe, yeah, I believe all of these came from the same thrift store, just at different times and like probably different years, honestly. Because I mean, I collect these kind of weird sort of oddity cassette tapes. Not so much this one. This one's a bit. This one I just wanted to talk about because the music's really great. But yeah, like I like collecting these oddities and checking them out, and like it's always a weird little surprise. You might get something terrible, you might get something awesome, but like the thrift store that I go to sells these things for 10 cents each, so it's like it's not a very taxing investment. You can kind of just buy a little bundle of them and give them a shot, and now I'm sort of turning that into stuff for the channel, which is cool. So I get to share this kind of stuff with people, and I love that. So yeah, let's bring the other ones back in. I didn't really talk much about this, but it's just good music. So if you would want to like track down some of these songs, you could do that and then listen to them that way. This stuff over here is not as much available. I mean, you can find War of the Worlds and you might be able to find that jazz funeral stuff, but it's not as, it's not as easily accessible as something like this. Another thing that's cool is like uh, this seems like it's a bootleg maybe. I mean, I'm not sure what Priority Records is, but like it seems unlikely that they had access to all of these different recordings. But yeah, so it's just cool finding all this kind of music in one spot. And what was one of the ones? So I grew up with Black Magic Woman thanks to Guitar Hero World Tour on the DS. Or no, not World Tour, On Tour. But yeah. And then what, Incense and Peppermints is one that I've heard quite a bit. But yeah, there's some nice stuff on here. You got Higher by Sly and the Family Stone. Heck yeah, get some funk in there too, right? So yeah, so I'm not gonna be sort of rating these like what's the best of this little set or anything. I almost said best of the worst because this is actually a lot like best of the worst, but no. Uh, Here's everything all in one spot. And yeah, so let me know what you think of this series so far. Tell me your thoughts on it, sort of what you think I could change, what I could add, take out, anything like that. Uh, I'm definitely going to be doing this more because I have lots and lots and lots of cassette tapes that I'd like to talk about. So, yeah, just drop a like if this is something you enjoyed. Comment any of the suggestions you may have. Uh, Subscribe if you would like to sort of stick around with the channel and see what other stuff I post. Gonna be doing more of these, of course, and then I talk a lot about movies, which kind of happened by accident, but movies are, I don't know, I like the movies. Anyway, good night.